So since visiting the BAT tombs and the Jaylah tombs or the Kebekib tombs up at Salma Plateau, I've been doing a lot of research on these tombs, and it turns out that something very similar to those tombs exists right here in the middle of Muscat. So I set off to try and find them since, again, barely any signages anywhere. But it started off with looking at Google Maps and Google Earth, and that was my starting point. I tried my level best to find any sort of literature or any kind of writing that I could find, and the only thing that was available was a small paragraph stating that these tombs date back to the 1st and 2nd century BC and that they're about 22 meters long. So I did find one site that gave me a pinpoint location on a map. So step number 2 was to get onto Google Maps and then to try and get a satellite view of the area. And once I started digging deep into it and really searching, I found something very, very peculiar. And right there in front of my eyes, in plain sight, I found these round, peculiar objects that were lined up all against the ridge. What are these things? It was time to find out what those things were. So after doing all that research, I figured out that the graves are located in Bawshar and mostly in the area called Al-Fath. So I'm gonna head there on the Surron and see if I can find any of these graves. For those of you that don't know what a Surron is an electric bike, which is a mix between a dirt bike and a normal bike. It's actually extremely capable. It goes up to about 80 kilometers an hour, is a lot of fun to ride, and is one of the best ways to explore your neighborhood or any other route that you have around you. So I took the Surron and I was off, heading into the heart of Bawshar. So the Bawshar area has a lot of different activities and sites for you to see. There's Ain Ghala, there are a lot of MTB tracks, and of course, now that I found out, there are a lot of ruins around this area as well. So it makes it a perfect place to go exploring. And of course, the Surron is the perfect way of getting there. Our first location was the pinpoint location that we found on Google Maps. So I've made it to Bawshar, to the spot that I saw from Google Earth. Right behind me, as you can see, spaced out between each other are molds. They're mounts on the ground. I don't know what these are. Go check it out. Alright, so I'm walking onto these. What are these? So I found these weird circular mounts that were lined up against the ridge at the bottom of it actually. Each one of them had a hole in the center of it. They looked like the bottom part of what I would call honeycomb tombs, the same ones that we saw in BAT and the ones that we saw in Jaylah as well. I think there's something on the top up there. But you see, this is another mound. And then there's another one there, another one there, another one there. So I knew that since these mounts existed here, there definitely were tombs somewhere around, and the best way to find them would be to head towards the old ruins of BAT al-Kabir, the big house in Bawshar. As I approached BAT al-Kabir, or the old house, it was good to see that it was under renovation. There was no way around it though, so I thought the next best spot for me to go would be to the Fatah graveyard. And while approaching the graveyard, I spotted something on the top of the ridge. So I spotted one of these, the graves, I think. It's right there at the top of that mountain. So I'm gonna see how can we get our way up there, because I have to go see this. So let's just head inside from here and we'll see how we go as we move. So I've spotted one of the graves, I think. It's right on top of that mountain over there. So I'm gonna park the Surron down here. I'm not definitely can't take it up there. So I'm gonna park the Surron down here, and then I'm gonna try and head up, see if I can get up there. So down there, you guys see, that's the cemetery. That's the old house, the castle. And what I think up here, right over there, that is the first grave that I have found in Bawshar. Well, I'm not saying it's my discovery, but you know, nobody talks about these things. Yep. Sure is. And another one. And another one. And another one. And one right here. 3 prehistoric graves right at the heart of Bawshar. Amazing. They don't look like much, but these mounds are actually all spread out on the ridges of the mountains around Bawshar. That's one, if you can see. There's one there. There's another one down there. And there's one right up here. What a sight.
So these were exactly the same, or built in exactly the same way that the ones we saw in BAT and the ones that we saw in Salma Plateau. They had the same outlook, the same features, and they were also built on top of a ridge, just like in BAT, with a valley underneath. A really amazing sight.
So the sun is starting to set, and I don't want to leave this place. I can't believe that such a magical location exists right next to my house. It took me exactly 11 minutes to get from my house to here on the Surron. And the ride, of course, is amazing, but this place, what kind of stories, what kind of history does this place have? Wow.
As I head down the mountain, I'm thinking to myself, what really happened here? How can I get more information on this place? It's amazing what you can find if you really look for it.
So quite amazing that something that old exists that close to home. There's still a lot of other sites, I think, in Bawshar that I haven't able to get to yet, but in 15 minutes getting into this area right behind me and checking it out, definitely worth it. So that actually was awesome. I didn't expect to find something that awesome that close to home. I'm glad that I did come out today, because I was being lazy and I didn't want to come out, but I'm glad that I did. Time to head back home.
So this is the third site that I have been to, or third archaeological site that I've been to, and I think there's so many more of them in Oman that are yet to be documented properly and yet to be shared with the public. I hope that I can fulfill that little need and visit all these sites and give you guys more information about them. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to keep exploring.